When we think of history's great heroes, we imagine generals, presidents, or scientists whose names are etched in textbooks. But sometimes, the greatest lifesavers are the ones history forgets. Imagine a pandemic that threatened millions, and a woman, working quietly behind the scenes, who found a way to stop it. Her discovery saved lives across the world. And yet, almost no one remembers her name. This is the forgotten story of Dr. Anna Wessels-Williams, the woman who helped save millions during one of humanity's deadliest battles. Pandemics shape history. They terrify societies, topple governments, and expose the fragility of human life. When the world remembers these moments, credit often goes to famous men: Pasteur, Koch, Salk, Fleming. But hidden behind those names are unsung heroes, often women, whose work made survival possible. Dr. Anna Wessels-Williams was one of them. A pioneering pathologist in the late 19th and early 20th century, she helped transform how we fight infectious diseases. Her greatest contribution was during a time when diphtheria, a terrifying pandemic, was killing children by the thousands. Yet her name rarely appears in history books. She lived in a world that did not celebrate women in science. Her discoveries were overshadowed, her achievements minimized. And so today, we bring her back into the light. The late 1800s were a dangerous time for children. Diseases like tuberculosis, smallpox, cholera, and scarlet fever swept through cities. But perhaps the most feared of all was diphtheria. Known as the strangling angel of children, diphtheria caused the throat to swell, blocking airways and suffocating its victims. In the 1880s and 1890s, diphtheria killed tens of thousands every year in Europe and America. Families lived in constant terror. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Quarantines failed. Doctors were powerless. Society desperately needed a breakthrough. And that breakthrough would come, not from the men who dominated the medical establishment, but from a woman few have ever heard of. Anna Wessels-Williams was born in 1863 in Hackensack, New Jersey. At a time when women were rarely encouraged to pursue higher education, she defied expectations and studied medicine. In 1894, she joined the New York City Department of Health as an assistant bacteriologist. Her assignment: study the raging epidemic of diphtheria. At that time, German scientist Emil von Behring had begun experimenting with antitoxins that could neutralize diphtheria. His work was promising, but fragile. Antitoxins required a reliable strain of the diphtheria bacillus, something that scientists struggled to isolate. It was Anna Williams who achieved the breakthrough. Working tirelessly in the lab, she isolated a particularly virulent strain of the bacterium. This strain, later known as the Williams strain, became the global standard used to produce diphtheria antitoxin. Without it, mass production of the treatment would not have been possible. And with it, millions of children were saved. The diphtheria antitoxin quickly became one of the most important medical advances of the era. By the early 1900s, deaths from diphtheria began to plummet. Hospitals that had once overflowed with dying children now reported survival rates that stunned the world. Williams's discovery had made it possible. Yet when credit was handed out, her name was rarely mentioned. In 1901, Emil von Behring won the very first Nobel Prize in Medicine for his work on diphtheria. His contribution was immense, but it was Anna Wessels-Williams who had provided the key strain that allowed his cure to spread worldwide. She received no prize, no global recognition, only the quiet knowledge that her work had saved lives. Williams's story did not end with diphtheria. She continued to work as a pathologist, focusing on public health and the prevention of epidemics. She became a co-author of the Manual of Bacteriology, a textbook that trained generations of doctors and scientists. She researched rabies, scarlet fever, and tuberculosis. She developed new diagnostic techniques that helped identify diseases faster. But even as she rose to become the first woman to head a public health laboratory in the United States, she was constantly battling a system that minimized the achievements of women. Her male colleagues were celebrated, published, and honored. She was rarely mentioned. And yet, quietly, her influence spread across medicine. Why was Anna Wessels-Williams forgotten? Part of the reason was timing. She lived in an era when women scientists were seen as assistants, not leaders. Their work was often attributed to men, their discoveries diminished or ignored. Another reason was her own humility. Williams did not seek fame or glory. She cared more about saving lives than about recognition. But the result was tragic. While millions of children owed their lives to the diphtheria antitoxin her strain made possible, she slipped into obscurity. She retired quietly, without the fanfare she deserved. She died in 1954 at the age of 91, largely unknown outside medical circles. Let's pause and consider what Anna Wessels-Williams accomplished. Before her work, diphtheria was one of the leading killers of children worldwide. In some cities, it caused up to 40% of childhood deaths. After her discovery enabled mass production of the antitoxin, the disease's death toll plummeted. By the mid-20th century, diphtheria had been nearly eliminated in many countries. Vaccines, later developed using the foundation she laid, eradicated diphtheria as a major global killer. In other words, this forgotten woman saved millions of lives. Her contribution was not just a small footnote in medical history. It was a turning point in humanity's battle against infectious disease. Anna Wessels-Williams's story forces us to confront a deeper question. How many other women, how many other forgotten figures shaped history without recognition? Her story reminds us that progress is not the work of lone geniuses, but of countless individuals whose names we may never know. It also reminds us of the importance of equity in science. Recognition matters, not just for ego, but because it inspires future generations. How many young women might have been inspired to pursue science if Williams's name had been celebrated alongside Baring's? History is not just about what happened. It's also about who gets remembered. Anna Wessels-Williams gave the world a weapon against one of its deadliest pandemics. She was a scientist, a pioneer, and a savior of children. And yet, she was forgotten. But perhaps it's not too late. By telling her story, by remembering her name, we restore a piece of justice. Her life is proof that you don't need recognition to change the world. You need persistence, vision, and the courage to keep working, even when no one is watching. History is filled with forgotten heroes, like Anna Wessels-Williams, people who gave everything to humanity, yet were erased from memory. If you want to uncover more hidden stories like this, subscribe and join me on this journey. Because sometimes, the greatest lives are not the ones remembered, but the ones that quietly saved millions.